So good evening, sir. It's
Hi,
good to
hi, good
have you on
evening.
the show, and we are going to have a good conversation on diabetes and how the things are changing in the country when it comes to the matter of diabetes in particular.
Right, right, right.
Oh, so firstly, how large is the spread of diabetes in India, and when it comes to the number of patients that come to you in this city, I mean in your city?
Hi, very good evening. And diabetes, I think it is now a pandemic. See, we all are worried about COVID right now. I know it is very much understandable as well. But remember, diabetes is one thing which is already penetrated right across the globe. And when it comes to India, I think there is in just few months or few years, we are going to be labeled as diabetes capital of the world. So I think that is one tag which India never wants. Of course, we want to be first in everything, but not when it comes to this, as at least. And then when you see the data, when it comes to India, South India is number one in having patients with diabetes. And when you come to South India, Hyderabad is number one in South India. So it is predominantly because of our sedentary lifestyle and carbohydrate intake. I think Hyderabadis cannot survive with biryani, can we? So
Seriously,
that has to be one of the serious contenders for causing all of these problems.
definitely. And what would you attribute diabetes in our country, sir?
See, if you see way back, if you'll see 3 to 4 decades before, you will see since when industrialization has happened, digitalization has happened, everything has its own merits and demerits as well. So I think last a decade or so, before that, if you will see, India was known for having infectious diseases. So that was a time where we used to have all these infectious diseases, diarrheas. We used to have low birth weight, where we were all fighting for the infectious disease. Last decade, or maybe a little more than that, we are now fighting for the NCDs, that is the non-communicable disease, where diabetes is the primary of all these NCDs. And the main reason for this is obesity. So we have shifted drastically from our dietary habits. If you remember, probably when you were kid, dadi ka haath ka khana ya nani ka haath ka khana, what was that? That was homemade food, which they used to. I mean, they used to probably do it. They used to grow the vegetables, and they used to cook it at home. But over a period of time now, you see there is so much amount of things which have changed. We want everything instant. So all that dietary change in the lifestyle and habits, it has become more sedentary, more digital. So if I want to do some physical activity also, for that there is something which is replacing that as well. So it has become that. So sedentary lifestyle and change in the dietary habits, right from the north to the south. If you will see, the International Diabetes Federation says there is more than 10% of prevalence of diabetes across the country, which is very, very high. So you take it from Delhi to Kanyakumari, it is more than 10%, which is very, very high. You'll be astonished by the numbers. 1 in 10 adults in India are having diabetes. Contribution, 1 in every 6 is from India. And then 1 out of the 2 people don't know they have diabetes, because of which there is delay in diagnosing, and then patients are more at prone of developing complications. And then 1 out of the 4 pregnancies, which is very, very important, all these mothers are having a lot of diabetes, what we call as gestational diabetes. So this is also very, very important, which we have to change. And I think simple thing was, go back to what our grandparents were doing, what they were eating.
Definitely. And certain researchers say that by the time a diabetic patient gets diagnosed, 40% of his beta cells are not working. Is that true, sir?
Oh, definitely. See, that is science which has already been established. Almost 40 to 50% of your beta cells have already been destroyed. So, what are beta cells? Beta cells are the cells which make insulin in your body. So, when there is deficiency of insulin, that causes type 1 diabetes, what we see in children. And when there is insulin resistance, so that insulin is present in our body, but because of the resistance, it is not able to reduce the glucose level in your body. That is type 2 diabetes. So that we see in adult population, where 95% of our Indian population or worldwide is having type 2 diabetes. So yes, there is definitely beta cells which are already exhausted, which are non-functioning. There is something called as pre-diabetes as well. So this is a stage, you call it as a honeymoon stage, where 5 to 10 years before you get diagnosed with diabetes, this is the stage where if you catch these patients early, so these are the patients of pre-diabetes where the sugars, fasting sugar and post meal 2 hours after food is between 140 to 200. So these are patients at risk who are prone for developing diabetes in future. So if you catch hold of them at this stage, we can prevent diabetes. So that is why it becomes very, very important to diagnose it early before the beta cell destruction happens. Because if you diagnose them at that point, you can do really wonders for them.
Amazing. And does that mean for a good progress in diabetic cure, sir? Or however it is?
See, one thing I will tell you, the word insulin has so much amount of phobia. I'm sure if you ask terrorism also, they would not have fear. But the moment they listen insulin, it is like a real terror for the families, for the attenders, for the patients. It is like zindagi khatam. So it is like the end of the life. So here I want to tell people from your platform that insulin is an anabolic hormone. It is a natural hormone which does not have any side effects. I'm talking about the insulin 20 years before, 30 years before, was that we had to take insulin, wait for 30 minutes for it to start its action, and then eat. And then there were chances that sugars will drop down suddenly. And then the major problem was with weight gain. But with newer analog insulins, nothing has to be worried. So you can take your insulin shot, you can have your meal. There is absolutely no or less chances of developing hypoglycemia, and these most of them are weight neutral when you give it with the tablets. So insulin is definitely the golden drug of choice when it comes to diabetes, because that is the drug which will save your beta cells as well. So beta cells are already exhausted. This is like keep on hitting the horse which is already about to collapse. So if you hit the horse, what do you expect? The horse will give away. That is what. So if you keep on giving the tablets, whatever beta cells are there in your body will also give up. And then your sugars will start shooting. So if you start insulin at this time, this is like giving rest to the horse so that it starts working again. So that is the best thing. And then you control your sugars early. You reduce the glucotoxicity. Sugars causes a lot of toxicity in the body. It affects all the organs right from your eye to the foot. So all that toxicity can be reduced if you start insulin early.
Amazing. Throughout your experience, sir, dealing with these diabetic patients, it is heard and seen that people, diabetic patients try to avoid insulin. Is that so? And if that is the case, what is the reason that you think it is?
Oh, definitely. When I talked about terror, I think I missed the point there. So that is once I say insulin or my fellow colleague says insulin, then you start getting all the answers. I now I will be a very good boy. I'll be a very good girl. I'll be the right patient, Doctor Saab. Give me anything except insulin. I'm ready to die. And then one thing which we listen in Hyderabad is the opposite. The patients are, you give me anything, I will not leave biryani. So again, we have patients who have from both the ends. But coming to the most important point, yes, insulin, when we tell the patients, they have that inertia. There is a lot of apprehension just because of the prick and social stigma. I think let us come out of it. We have moved ahead in life, and then there has to be no stigma attached to it. It is a disease which you have not done anything. It is a disease which has come because of deficiency or resistance. So you should not be worried about the fact that you have diabetes. There is no social stigma which should be attached with it. In fact, you can be a role model. If you see across out of India and globe, there are a lot of diabetes groups. There are a lot of diabetic patients which become act as a role model. That is what we do at our centers as well. So on 14 November, World Diabetic Day, we are getting few of our children diabetic patients and adult diabetic patients, and we ask them to tell their journey so that they can correlate it more, much better to the patients rather than we telling them.
Definitely. And sir, how do you think we should bring the awareness in people for the use of insulin as the first part of taking a progress towards having a better life in terms of diabetes, sir? How should be the progress of awareness in this?
See, brief about the World Diabetic Day. Every 14 November, World Diabetic Day is celebrated on 14 November across the globe. So there is a blue circle, which is the logo, which signifies diabetes, and it says, "Let's unite for diabetes." That is the significance of that circle. So across the globe, wherever you are, people who are dealing with diabetes, maybe patients, maybe doctors, maybe healthcare professionals, all of them unite and try to get this awareness. I think that is what we are also trying to do for this World Diabetes Day. So I'll tell you, at our FS Endocrine Center, what we do is every year at this point of time, we do a lot of educational activities. And then whenever we prescribe a diet or insulin to a patient, we see that the patient takes the first shot in front of us. And then we have kept some small balls. We ask them to take it so they are comfortable. And then see, I had part of my actually amazed that as a kid, you remember if your father would have told you, okay, you wanted a cycle, he said, get first in your fifth class, sixth class, I'll give you a cycle. So you would work for it. So I think that is what motivation. So what we do is we have this gold medallion where we tell our patients, we are starting you on insulin therapy, but after 6 months, if you reach this target, if you control very well, we'll give you medallion, we'll give you fees as well, and then you can be one of our team member to give that educational talk to the rest of the patients.
And finally, sir, we have been listening and reading about certain types of drug, especially GLP-1 RA, a new drug that has come into the world, which seems to be, which is, do you think it is the magical drug that is going to take the diabetic patients, or the special treatment that is to be given for the diabetic patients to the new level of what?
See, there are number of drugs which have been coming for treatment management of diabetes, right from metformin, sulfonylureas to the newer drugs, yes, GLP-1 receptor agonist or the SGLT2 inhibitors. Coming to the GLP-1 receptor agonist, yes, these are one of the very good drugs. These are the drugs which have shown that they have benefit. When you give it for sugar, they will not only control your sugar levels, but they will reduce your chances of developing a heart attack. They will reduce your chances of getting damage for the kidneys. So most of the national and international guidelines across the globe, if you will see the American Diabetes Association, the American Association of Clinical Endocrinology, the RSSDI, which is an Indian society. So most of these are recommending GLP-1 analogs or the GLP-1 receptor agonist. Of course, I would agree that again it is a prick which the patient has to take. But now the good news is there are oral GLP-1 analogs also which are going to come into the market. So these are very good drugs because they are like something, I would say, something like a Yuvraj Singh. You want an all-rounder in your team to win the match. You do not want batsman and bowler. You want that fifth down to have that all-round capacity. So this will not only help you to reduce sugars, which is their primary responsibility, but they will also reduce your incidence of developing heart attack or kidney failure or development of proteinurias that is damage to the kidneys. So one drug which will give you additional benefits, and the major benefits is weight loss. So all these GLP-1 analogs, most of our type 2 diabetic patients are obese. So when we give it to them, they have a very good weight loss. So I think these are, yes, one of the wonder drugs which would change the way we are treating our patients now and in future as well.
Given us, and you are the fun to talk with. And the moment I saw cricket background behind, I thought you would give an example with the cricket. Definitely. So thank you so much, sir. And this is a wonderful information that we have got this evening, and all the very best for whatever. And thank you so much for whatever the services that you have been rendering us in terms of medical fields.
It's all. Thank you so
Thank you
much,
so much.
Raj. Sid. Thank you, Sid. Take care.
Radio City.